I tell parents is to be, have clarity and be consistent. So when I say clarity, you should be clear about what are the values, because rule-based parenting can get into a lot of trouble, because it works initially with younger kids, but as the children grow older, it's going to lead to more challenges. So value-based parenting is universal. It is going to stand at every age group of parenting.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Imperfect Parenting from the Confident Communicator. I am joined by my wonderful partner, Seema Mehta, and we are joined by an incredible guest today. We have Parul Sharma on, who has a dual master's in school counseling and marriage family therapy from California State University. And we're so grateful to Parul because she's joining us from Indiana. So she's woken up early in the morning to join us to record this session. She has worked in the US for 2 years, moved to Bangalore, practiced at the Child Central Clinic for 30 years. And she's been counseling young preschoolers to young adults, and is also an associate member of the Indian Pediatric Association. So she's a member of the Indian Association of Child and Adolescents Mental Health. Wow, that's quite a mouthful. So welcome, Parul. We're so excited to have you, especially now when mental health is becoming a very big issue, both amongst adults as well as children. So before we go further, I want you to tell us a little bit more maybe about yourself and how did you get into this field of psychology? And, also I think an addendum to that question is, you've been in this field for 15 years now. So how have you seen it change? How have you seen it evolve from, 15 years back to the kind of...
I just wanted to chime in. I just wanted to chime in a couple of things. One is that we're going to split this episode into two parts. And I think it's a brilliant idea that Parul has actually suggested, because there are parents who deal with different issues with kids below the ages of 11. And then there are parents who have different and kids who have different issues, 11 to 18. So Parul, thank you so much for being patient with us and, splitting it into 2 episodes. So this will be a 2-episode series. I just wanted to put that in.
Yeah,
sure.
This is the
Welcome to the show.
This is the first episode where we will be talking about a lot of the questions and issues that parents of children up to the age of 11 have. And then the next episode will be 11 plus. So we're very excited. Welcome, Parul.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deepma. Thank you, Seema, for giving me this opportunity. I think you have, hit the nail on the head, because this is something that's come to the forefront. It was always there, but I think it's come to the forefront. Yes. So I'll tell a little bit about my background. So I think I was always fascinated with something in the helping profession. I wanted to always make a difference in people's lives. So I think earlier I was aiming to be in the medicine field, and unfortunately I couldn't make it. And so I decided to join, this profession where, I had the opportunity to interact with people and make a difference in a different way. So I think that was the first time my own beliefs were challenged, because I thought there was the only way I could help or make a difference in people's life was by being a doctor. And this gave me a different perspective, like, no, hey, there are different ways. You can still make a difference. So I think I got started. And so one of professors was a psychology professor, and I think during my undergrad, I think she was the one who kind of sparked that light in me. So I always believe that you can learn from people around you, and so I'm a big advocate of community and social interaction, face-to-face interaction, where you get this opportunity. And
that goes so beautifully with your objective. I think it goes so beautifully with your objective of what you, and I think it's really important for all of us to tell our parents and our students that Start with what your intention is. What is it that, who do you want to be? And we talk about this all the time. Don't start with what you want to do. Start with who do you want to be. Like Parul said, I want to be somebody who helps others. So I think that's beautifully put. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you. So definitely, because a lot of times we may not know the way we try to structure it. Okay, what kind of profession you want to be? That is one of the ways. If you have clarity and you have, that experience, but a lot of kids are not in the same boat. So for them, they need to start with who they are and how they like to work. What kind of environment are you looking for? Are you looking for a structured place, or a regimented, like a lab kind of thing, or an office kind of thing, or like a more free-flowing kind of environment? So you start asking questions to yourself, and from there you can begin the journey.
As far as I love that what you just said. It just reminded me of what Michelle Obama says in her book, right, in Becoming, where she says that is one of the most irritating questions that you can ask a child. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Exactly. So because a lot of them will not know, or they might try to please you and say what you want to hear, or they might just be quiet because they don't want to not sound stupid, or not having an idea.
Anxiety, like if somebody keeps putting up pressure on me, that means the first thing that we are telling our children is, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? So they have to start thinking about it very, very early on. That, oh wait, let me ask a very important question. Everyone is asking me this question. That means it's very important. I need to address this right now. There are so many people who don't know for years, for a long time, what it is that we want, right?
And it's not an easy question, because you might go through changes also, because what you want or what you like right now may not be what you like later. So it's too early to make that kind of commitment. And
absolutely,
we had a guest on the show, Aarti Kumar, who actually Aarti Rao, actually, who actually said she's on her 5th or 6th profession, because she's just like, I want to be open to what I want to do right now. And both Seema and I have switched professions. I started out in HR and I hated training. I absolutely I was terrified of training. I did not want to be. And then, through a series of very serendipitous events, I became a trainer, and I love it.
Exactly.
So we have to be open.
So Parul, let me ask you this question. In your journey to where you are as a counselor, have you seen that there is a big change from what you saw about 5 to 10 years ago to what you're seeing now when you are talking to kids or when you're talking to parents? Do you see a big change or a shift? And
So I think, change. So I put it this way. There are themes that have been common for children, which they have navigated over the years. So the themes are based on their age. So you will have like more emotional disturbance and behavioral issues with younger kids. With older kids, you're going to have like more of like risk taking. So they want to, whether it's drug, alcohol, sex, things like that. So the themes have been there for, from years before. What has complicated, or I think made it more challenging, is now with the invasion of digital technology. So we are seeing more of isolation. We are seeing cases or challenges which we thought we would see in teenagers. We are seeing it more in younger kids now. So the age has gone down, and that is also to do with the fact that now children are maturing earlier. They're hitting puberty earlier compared to previous generations. So we are seeing those kind of changes because they're hormonal changes, which teenagers will have. So we are seeing those cases trickle down more into the younger population. So it's not like, okay, this is going to be in older kids only, and you're too young to have that kind of issue and things like that. We are seeing that earlier. We are seeing more isolation also, because now we are, we are interacting more with gadgets. Because that's the nature of the beast. I want to make sure that, we are realistic about it. It's not the enemy. It is how we are using it. Because this technology is very useful. Today, you and I are able to communicate. Because of technology. It was going to be not happening. You're sitting in Bombay, Deepma is sitting in Bangalore, I'm sitting in the US. It's happening in real time. So it is not the enemy. It is how we are going to handle this. This is a new challenge that we have been given. So how do we handle it?
Yeah.
And then I think now in current thing is, because of the pandemic, we have become more isolated, more restricted.
Yes.
So now it's become more complicated. So it's a challenge.
I remember watching a very interesting documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. And The Social Dilemma had a guest who was, I think her name was Dr. Anne Lemke. And she was a psychologist, PhD in psychology, I think, from Stanford. And she was talking about a very interesting concept where she said that the pain and the pleasure part of your brain is located in the same part of the brain. And there has to be a balance that the brain has to have, where if you have excessive of pain or excessive of pleasure, then that leads to all these disturbances that you are talking about, which could be depression or anxiety or stress. It triggers all these things. So the goal is to kind of keep that balance all the time. And I think that's where your input, as far as how we can, and I like what you said, that of course we need this technology to keep going. It is going to keep evolving. We can't stop that.
Absolutely.
But how do we as parents help our children navigate that path that we are going toward? Is something that your advice would be amazing to you.
Yeah. So I wanted to just clarify one thing. We do know inherently that balance is good, but what is that balance and how do we maintain it? I think that's also another part, because it's not a place where you are there constantly. So to have you swing from either extremes is also going to be part of the journey. And that's very important, because otherwise we think we have to just be balanced. And that balance can be very broadly defined. It's not a point. Absolutely. So that is the first thing that, a lot of times we struggle, because we think it's a point that we have to be at. It's more broader than that. It is a spectrum. So in a spectrum, we notice which end we are, and then we move towards, the opposite end. And
so what you're saying is
it's a process.
So are you saying that
it's like a seesaw kind of thing?
Yeah, like observe which side of the spectrum we are. Is that what you're saying? That we need to observe which side of the spectrum we are. Are we towards pain or are we towards pleasure?
Yes. And then move towards centering, or what we call like neutral. So you can give it whatever name. You can call it neutral, or you can be like saying stable, or you can call it grounded. So the name doesn't matter. The space. It's a space where you are content. You're not doing anything, or you're not running away from anything. Right. So that is the important part. And then secondly, like, how do we help navigating our children? It's a process, because this is a new technology. Some of the rules that we are aware of, and some of them are unknown to us. So that's what makes it challenging, because we think we have it under control. Most of us will say, yes, I do spend time on the internet or on my smartphone, but I think it's under control. So we don't realize how much it has, seeped into our lives, and how much how much it's eroding us away without awareness. And so the only time it hits us is when we are in crisis, or another person sees us, and then they say, oh, you know what, you are doing it too much. And so we need that feedback system to have around. So, but children, I think parents would give that.
But so Parul, what is too much? What is, so, I'm not sure how do we help both parents and children, right? Because I have now, both Seema and I, all three of us actually have older kids, right? And they all have phones. They all, obviously with the pandemic, it's become worse with their on the digital media all the time with online schooling. And so every time you kind of go in and try to bring about that balance, they come back to you and say, I need it for school. I'm on school. I'm in a class.
Very valid.
So how do you then at that point not only kind of assert yourself as a parent, one, but the second thing is also when do you back off, right? And when do you say, now they're in school, now what do I do?
Yes. So I think one of the ways we try to assess it is, how it's impacting. So for children or teenagers, they have mainly three arenas where, they need to be functioning. So one is at home, one is at school, and one is social. So these are the three arenas broadly where, everything is happening for them.
Correct.
Because they don't have a job. So school or high school is the place. So we want to see how is it impacting these three arenas. If we see that, okay, at home, yes, the interaction is reducing, then we want to know whether it's happening at school, whether it's happening also among friends. So if you find that, it's sliding down, then that's the time you want to assert as a parent. If it's happening only in one arena, then you want to know more. I think you don't want to jump the gun and say, hey, this is not okay or that's not okay. I think you want to be curious and you want to ask questions that, hey, this is something that I'm feeling. What are your thoughts? Do you also believe? So we start a dialogue. I think so. With older kids, we want to have a dialogue. With younger kids, they're still wanting to have that emotional connect. So they are still looking for adults around to be detective. Point. So it's easier. So we are the way we approach the whole situation is very different for younger kids versus older kids. So we'll do that in the second episode.
Sure.
So we'll talk about it with younger kids right now.
Yeah. I just wanted to interject very quickly.
Yeah.
Is that I completely, this is how we raised our kids over, the 12, 14 years that they were in school, the school versus home versus social. But now the lines have blurred, with the pandemic and the online schooling.
Yes.
So how do we help parents kind of figure it out?
Not only that, I think the other part, especially that we have seen in India, is that culturally also we are changing. There was a time when the mothers would always be at home. And now mothers are going out to work. The fathers are more involved in what is happening in the home. So culturally also we are changing. This may be true in the Western world for a while, but in India especially, this is a recent phenomena where a lot of moms are now working moms. And I remember, one of my close cousins, the way she struggles, she's got a 3-year-old and she has to work. She works in a very big media company, and she has to also take care of her child. Between her husband and her, they are trying to schedule and juggle, because you have to sit with the child while the online class is going on, and it's such a challenging time for them that you can almost sense a little bit of irritation with the fact that the child has to go to school. Because we are now involved in the teaching process. They have to sit with the kids when, they could have just sent them off to school. And just when school started face-to-face, back the Omicron attack happened and they are back home again working. So it's become such a juggle and a challenge for the parents. And culturally, how we have changed, that probably also has made an impact. Right?
Yes. So let's address. So yes, definitely. Let me address the working moms issue, and then we'll move to the other question. So yes, we are going through evolution. So it is going to now, the roles are, not like clearly defined that it's a mother's role. Now it's a parenting role.
Yeah.
And so very important, the first stepping stone is parents need to be in alliance. When I'm saying in alliance, a lot of time parents are confused. Okay, how am I supposed to be? Because most of us got training how to be a parent, looking at our parents.
Yeah.
And then we came to this job, and now we are parents, and we have old challenges and new challenges added together. So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of material around. So we don't know what is our role. So there are very few pointers that I could tell parents. One of the things that I tell parents is to be, have clarity and be consistent. So when I say clarity, you should be clear about what are the values, because rule-based parenting can get into a lot of trouble, because it works initially with younger kids, but as the children grow older, it's going to lead to more challenges. So value-based parenting is universal. It is going to stand at every age group of parenting.
Okay.
So we want to be shifting the way we are looking at parenting. Rather than a job, we're looking at it as a process where, we have values. So when I'm talking about values can be very broad values. Like, okay, health is something that we value as a family.
Okay.
Or honesty can be something that as a family we value. So it is easier for you to have clarity about this is something that's important for us as a family. So we're going to encourage and, guide our children through the journey on these things. We want to be kind yet firm. We don't want to be like wishy-washy kind of things. So we want to be firm about things that are valuable to us, that we value as parents. So
is value-based parenting different from positive parenting? I mean, it's a very interesting. This is a word that's very interesting. Value-based, because we always think you have to be a positive parent, you have to be supportive, you have to be this. But this is still a bit different. So would you tell us the difference?
So I think, when we talk about positive parenting, then we think everything has to be positive. There's no unpleasantness.
Correct.
And that is something that is not possible. There are going to be times when your child is going to be upset or not like what you are doing. So, so it is kind of deceiving sometimes, because when we think, okay, positive parenting, then everything has to be positive. Everything has to be in a certain...
Yeah, they become very fragile and not resilient, and all those problems that we are seeing nowadays. Kids are getting not very resilient, and this is the reason why.
So they won't know how to take no, because they haven't heard no.
They haven't heard it.
Heard it. And secondly, we are because we want to be positive parents, then we are going to be always wanting to be a friend to the child. And that is not the no. That's not the best solution, because we are not their friends. We need to be friendly with them. I think a lot of parents think they have to be friends with the kids, so they want to mimic their behavior, or be confused about it. So it's very important to understand that we want to be friendly with our kids, so that they can feel comfortable approaching us, and it's going to be different. Another thing is, there are certain topics one parent would be better than the other. So that's why it's very important as parents, if you're aligned, you can take turns. It's not like, okay, this is going to be, it's only mom you're going to go and talk to. Sometimes, depending on the personality of the parent, the child is going to reach out to either one of them. And if you feel you're confused about, okay, what is the best solution, take a time out yourself and say, okay, let me think about it. Do not make hasty decisions, and say, okay, I need time to think and get back to you. So you can consult your partner, and you can buy some time out, because it can be sensing like there can be an urgency, like, okay, tell me right now, or things like that. And we may not be, so we want to train our children, like, okay, when we talk about being patient, I think this is one of the ways we're teaching them without.
I love what you said about the parents aligning with each other, because then confusion is not there in the mind of the child. They're not going to pit one parent against the other, because the parent is going to say, okay, I'll get back to you. And then the two of them can align and say, what do you think? Should we allow this? Should we let this happen? Should we give permission? I think that's beautiful. I love the concept of value-based parenting. That's an amazing concept.
And I love how you're saying, Parul, that I'm noticing that you're saying even in this, you need to have that seesaw. You need to have that balance, right?
Absolutely.
One of our parents asked that question, sent it in on email, and in fact said that, I grew up as in a very strict household, and I hated it. And so I have decided that I want to be my child's friend. And now, they're pushing my buttons and they're not able to hear no. How do I change that? So it's a very interesting question that the parents
Yes, exactly. So it goes to like what I said earlier. Since none of us got trained, we didn't have any parenting classes. What we saw, we are reacting to that. What we liked, we want to replicate. What we didn't like, we want to reject. So this is human nature. Because there is no destination, or there's no point that is common. There are some ground rules, and based on that, if we work, it is less stressful, because like you said, for working moms, they're so stressed that they want to do the right thing. They want to be available. They want to raise the children in a certain way, which is acceptable. But they don't know how to do it, because, they're scrambling. But when we are giving room for us to be a process, for this to be a journey, it's not like, okay, you got to do it in the first for 1 year or 2 years. No, it's an ongoing journey, and it's okay. We are going to be learning too as parents. So it is not the same thing like, okay, I've arrived trained, and now I'm going to be able to navigate this. Secondly, the other part of it is, sometimes children are going to push your buttons to the best of their ability. So even if you have all the pieces together,
they want to see how far they can go.
How far can
yes, they're still going to test you. So recognizing that is also the part of the journey, that you're going to be tested by either one kid or both kids or none of the kids. So all combinations are possible. So, you don't know which way it's going to be. And that's where, when you're going to be tested, it's really important that we ourselves are grounded.
Correct.
And have clarity. Because
clarity to the values.
Yes. So because otherwise we are going to be erratic, and we ourselves are going to be like, okay, am I doing it too much? Because we are, the kind of person who can give feedback to our children. But for ourselves, we are, we are not sure. And it's hard.
Is it possible for us to sort of break down what these value-based discussions can be? So, for example, how much TV can you watch? Or are you allowed to eat a meal while watching an iPad or a video or something? So, like, could you break down a few for our viewers? What could be the value-based conversations that parents can have?
Yes. So I think going back to what is your core value as a family, there can be certain things that you value as a family, and there can be an aspirational value that you would like to achieve. So let's just say, okay, you as a family now want to, spend more time interacting as a family. And this is something that was there, but it wasn't, clearly defined. So it is a personal choice. So we have to first see where we are. So if it's happening, so we divide it into 4 categories. So we say it is happening not at all. If it's second is the category is that happening some of the times. Then the third one is most of the times, and the fourth one is all the time. So we want to see where we are, and based on where we are, we have to move towards the next step. That's all we are supposed to do. So if it's happening none of the times, we want to move some of the times. And if we're doing it some of the time, we want to do most of the time. The last one is actually a utopian, or it's utopian, because we would like to do it all the time, but it's not sustainable.
It's not
so we don't want to put unnecessary pressure on ourselves and our kids to be in that space where they're doing it all the time. So we see where we are and we move towards that. And if we are at the most of the time, we want to stay there. So like you said, watching TV. Now, if value as a family, like, okay, spending time. So TV time can be there. You can watch TV. So earlier there was a number, the American Pediatric Association came up with a number like not more than, 1 hour of screen time and so on. For older kids, it was little more, but not more than 2 hours. But now with pandemic, that rule. That's why rules are, based in, they're limited, because values is, more broader. So let's look at it. Okay, I want to carve time for family. So that is more effective. Okay, now because I'm carving time for family, when are we going to do it? Is it going to be during meal time? So when I'm doing it during meal time, then all gadgets are off the table.
Correct.
And including my gadget.
Yes.
That's very important, because it can't take its meal time and I will still sneak, or maybe some notification comes and I look at it.
Little ding, it's so distracting.
Yes. Because now the boundaries have blurred for work and home. So we might be getting notifications. So it's really important that you show your commitment as a parent. 30 minutes, it's going to be family time or dinner time or whatever you want to call it. And we put away our gadgets and put our phones to silent. 30 minutes is not, there's no crisis that's going to need your immediate attention. It's okay.
Right.
And this way you're carving boundaries even for work. You are also carving boundaries for yourself, because the lines are blurred. We can't work 24/7. Now, because the internet, we can have tons of emails to reply constantly.
Correct.
Constantly, we can be productive. So we want to shift. Yes, we draw the line and take our time back. Second thing is, spending time doing something physical or creative. Very, very important. Which is not, especially for younger kids, like either it's drawing, writing a story, drawing or coloring, or it can be cooking, it can be a game. We're playing a board game. Something would be, or it can be very simple thing of not doing anything, just doing nothing.
Right.
That is so powerful because that's when our imagination is going to take wings. We are going to be thinking, we will be daydreaming. Otherwise, we are constantly bombarded and we are reacting. Or we've become so busy, activity oriented, that we don't know how to rest.
Actually, that's one of the questions that we got.
Yes.
There was so much controversy last year about, like I see that a lot in the younger parents.
Yes.
There's so much pressure on them to put their kids in this class and that class,
This-
and coding and programming and things that are really
At the
way
age of
beyond
8. Yeah.
like there are ads that we saw, 6-year-olds
Yeah.
are doing coding, 8-year-olds are doing coding, and like there's so much pressure. Oh, my child is in this theater class, and then I have to put my child, I have to keep my child busy all the time. That pressure is becoming a bit too much. I mean, what is your
so that's a common fear that it's so surprising. Even teenagers have it and parents also have it, which is called FOMO, or fear of missing
out. Yeah.
Because you feel inadequate. You're feeling inadequate as a parent. Am I not doing enough as a parent? So it really puts doubts in parents, and that's when we start reacting.
Correct.
And so it's really important when we have this space where we are doing nothing.
Yes.
That is the space where we'll have the time that, is it something that really I want my child to know at this age? Or is it something that my child is really interested?
Yeah.
And we want to not overwhelm the child by putting them into 10 different things.
Yes.
We want
That's like excessive stimulation, right? Too much.
Yes. Overstimulation.
Yeah.
So that is going to create more stress, more animosity, and more challenges for you for you in parenting, and even for the child to trust you, because you are a person who's constantly pushing them from one class to another. So it will lead to future power struggles, which we will see in major years, and that's when it hits you. So it's really important to understand what your child is. So I like to give the example of nature. So if people who are passionate about gardening, they must know that when we plant a seed, we know this is going to bear this kind of fruit or that kind of fruit.
Correct.
And we are not going to blame the tree for if it's producing. If it's apple tree, it's going to give apples. If it's a mango tree, it's going to give mango. So we should know what is this, what we are planting, and nurture it. So we look at what kind of climate conditions does it need. We need to look at its uniqueness and address what is a nurturing environment.
But Parul, isn't that the problem? I mean, isn't that exactly the problem, that there is a lot of pressure even on parents, right? इसका बेटा ये कर रहा है, this मेरी बहन का लड़का ये कर रहा है. So that pressure is so high on the parents, that tendency to compare and that fear of missing out, like you said, the FOMO. It's very difficult to say, बस इसका इतना ही ability है और इतना ही करेगा. So the fear is constantly there. How do you deal with that?
Yes, so I think that's where you dig deep as a parent and say, yes, doubt is okay. To have those kind of doubts and those kind of concerns, it's okay. As a parent, you will always have doubts. You're not going to be sure about it. This is because we're dealing with human beings.
Right.
We are not dealing with machines that, okay, I'm going to program it and then it will run. It is not. Correct. It's a life. It's a life. It comes with its own strengths and weaknesses. I have to make it a fulfilled life. I have to nurture it so that it can do to the best of its ability, rather than that one.
Somebody else's ability.
We shift. Yes. So we shift the comparison from other children to where our child is and compare their journey. So you do definitely do the comparison, but you look at your own journey and say, okay, how are we progressing?
Correct.
For my child, am I giving enough adequate exposure? Is there something that you ask the children, is this something you can try and dabble around also. So typically we say, okay, maybe 2 activities, and you dabble around in for some time. And then you listen to feedback. It's not like in vacuum where you say, okay, this is the activity, now you're going to do it. And don't, complain and crib about it.
Yeah.
Initially some cribbing and Yeah.
will be there. I love your analogy about the seed. And that was
Yeah.
bringing up actually a question that I had. And I wish I'd known
Yes.
you 10 years ago, Parul, because I think I screwed up on this one. But
No.
I, you know, when we have two or more children,
Yes.
we have to treat each child in our enthusiasm to be
Yes.
fair parents, in our
Absolutely.
enthusiasm to be exactly the same with both
Yes.
children, and not have, and children, like you said, are going to press your
Yes.
buttons.
Yes. Yes.
I noticed that with an example, my daughter, did poorly in some exam,
Yes.
and she came home and she was crying and she was really sad, and we really rallied around her and we said,
Yes.
we love your effort. You put in the effort,
Yeah.
put in the hard work. That's all that matters. We can do it
Yeah.
again if you want. It was, I think, a piano exam. So we said, you
Yeah.
can do it again if you want, or if you want to give it up, that's
Yeah.
fine too. Let's take a while to think about it. We
Yeah.
were very, very supportive. Now,
Yes.
fast forward about 8 months, 7, 8 months, 10 months, whatever. My son did poorly in something that he had, chosen to do. And he had not put in the effort. He had
Yes.
not had the discipline to do what needed to be done to do well in that activity. And so I was finding it very difficult to be supportive. And
Yes.
he turned around to me and he said, do you remember 6 months back when
Yes.
I happened to Didi, you were so supportive, and now look at you, you're telling me I didn't.
Yes.
And at that point I felt, like, am I screwing up my
Yes.
kids? Am I
Yes.
not being a good parent? So
Absolutely.
how do you handle that? That you have
Yeah.
to treat each child like a different.
Yes.
एक apple
Unique.
tree है और एक mango tree है, तो
Yes. Correct. So I think being honest is important without being harsh or punitive. I think that is really important, that based on where I see it, I didn't see you putting in as much effort. Do you think you put effort? So we always have dialogues. We are not giving like blanket statements, so we're not passing out judgment, because we will feel judged. Whoever is at the receiving end is always going to be judged. Either us as a parent will feel judged if the child blames her, or the child feels blamed. They are going to be, so when they're feeling blamed, they'll say, okay, you're judging. So you say, maybe you please tell me, this is what I saw, this is what was different. Did you feel that you put the effort? You did, then it counts. Maybe it wasn't. So now we kind of figure out, okay, did you put adequate enough effort? We can put minimal effort, or did we put adequate effort, or did you put too much effort? So we can grade it in those lines and say, okay, yes, maybe you're right, you did put effort. Okay, how much was that? And do you think that could have been adequate? So we leave the question to them and say, okay, this was one of the chances.
Yeah.
So it's a learning experience.
I told him that you didn't put the effort, so you didn't deserve
it.
Yes,
exactly. So it happens because we can be, because when we are being honest, we feel honesty is the best policy. But we have to remember, honesty without compassion is cruelty.
Yes.
So we want to be cautious. So like I said, when we're talking about balance, it's always balance in everything. It's not like absolute. There's nothing absolute. There's no absolute honesty, absolute support, absolute nourishment or nurturance. It is going to be balanced with something. So when we are being honest, we are going to be compassionate, so that we are not, we're giving you the feedback that's needed without breaking you down. Correct. So we keep that, hope in you, so that you are willing to attempt or reflect back. Correct. Reflecting back is very important, even though it may not happen in the immediate time. But the fact that this is the seed you're planting again for that healthy relationship, where they are saying, okay, my mom is going to get angry, but she will listen to me. Versus, she's just going to get angry, so I don't want to share. So
is it different for kids who are below, because we are talking about kids below the ages of 11 or 10? Is it like how much do they understand the compassion? And what is the difference in the treatment for somebody who is below 11 years of age? I'm guessing there's going to be a lot more compassion and a lot more understanding than it would be with a slightly older child where the conversation, there is an expectation that you will understand the conversation, that you will understand the other person. So how would you differentiate that?
So mentally, children who are younger than 11, they think very differently. So they think in black and white air. So they're very concrete in a thinking. So they're not going to sit back and reflect, okay, mommy meant it well or daddy meant it well. It's for my benefit. It's not going to be. So for them, it's going to be very different in terms of you are giving more encouragement because they're still wanting that approval. The desire is more higher than anything else.
Right.
With older kids, that takes a little backseat. They are able to tolerate that. So it's really important that
about the processing, how well they process.
When they're younger,
So we tell them that, hey, I noticed that you're good at this and this. So we're appreciating what they are capable of. And we're saying, okay, if only you can put a little more effort or things like that. They understand that. So that is communication, how you communicate. And very important is if you are upset and you think you can't have that conversation, please don't have it at that time. Because they're going to also pick up on your language and your body language and the experience. Because you might be saying, okay, I'm very patient. But they're going to sense it. Or, I'm trying really hard. So you can say, I'm really struggling. I don't know what to say at this time. Give me some time. I'll get back to you. We'll have this discussion for sure.
That honesty, I'm noticing you saying constantly, be honest with your children. Be vulnerable with your children. Let them know that you're human too.
Yes, because they're going to see it. Otherwise, they see younger children are going to put you on a pedestal. Mom or dad can't do wrong. So when you are trying to be, this perfect person, they think that's how adults have to behave. They have to be perfect. They have to be balanced. They are not going to have any struggles. So they are constantly struggling to be perfect or have no struggles. But being humans, we are going to have struggles.
Imperfect.
We are going to have, we are going to be, good days, bad days. Today is a bad day. So I'm not going to try to rock the boat.
Correct.
I will, respect it and honor that process.
Parul, I know we are splitting this episode into two parts, and I think we are sort of coming to the end of the first episode. I just wanted to quickly ask you if you could kind of recap for the kids, for the parents of the kids who are much younger, who are less than 10, 11 years of age. In this digital age where there is so much stress, there is so much, the pandemic has pushed us all, cramped us all into one space, and there is no boundaries about time, space, or anything else. And, we're not able to take vacations. We are not able to step out. It's been a difficult time for a lot of the parents. Any last minute tips for parents of younger kids?
Sure. So for younger kids, I'll have 5 C's. So we want to be creative. So it can be anything, like I said, coloring, drawing, cooking, storytelling, anything. We want to develop connections, human connections. So as a family, we can figure out, okay, what are the connections, how we're going to make time for those kind of connections. Then we are going to talk about compliment. So it's really important to compliment that, hey, it's not an easy time during the pandemic. You're doing, this is not easy. Even I have
your best
challenges. So you're doing a good job. So that's really important. Then another thing is community, interacting with community, because we are human beings. So now, because of the pandemic, we may have limitations. But having said that, we can create new opportunities. So when I'm talking community, it can be your domestic help. The maid is coming. Maybe in your, when you're coloring, you can create a card, like a thank you card.
Right.
And you hand out to that.
And a lot of your family values will come out of that, right? How nicely you treat other people.
Yes.
How you show empathy.
So we're learning a lot through those interactions, because the feedback which you're going to get when you as a kid is handing out a card to someone in the house, the appreciation is going to really make you want to do it again. Because it will make you feel good. So it can be, your maids, drivers, anybody who's coming to deliver any item. It can be, you can do, maybe if you're into cooking, you can bake some cookies and keep and say, okay, this is for you. So those small gestures.
That's lovely. That's
lovely idea. So those small gestures where we have that human connection, we are reaching out to the community and we feel good about it. So we are not so isolated or so lonely.
Right.
And and second thing is, we recognize that human connection is going to, surpass machine connection.
Yes.
Because
Very
we
true.
need to balance it. It's going to be there, but this is also equally good. So we want to do that. And last thing is commit. So we can commit either a space or time to, whatever, where we can do like maybe a breathing exercise, or we do stretching, or a space where we do nothing, or we are out in nature. So we can commit a place and time to inculcate or begin a new journey.
Correct.
And pandemic can, because it has really made people question.
So I think what you're saying is, be creative about a lot of these 5 C's. I love the 5 C's for the younger kids, parents of the younger kids. I mean, I wish we had this conversation maybe a year ago. But I think that if the pandemic has taken away a lot of things from us, it has also given us a lot of different ideas. I think it has given us a lot of teachable moments where we as parents have come so close to our children. We've bonded so much because we're all kind of trapped in one space. And the way we look at it, the way we approach this is really going to decide how our children's, how fragile they're going to be or how resilient they're going to be.
Absolutely.
And that is completely up to us. And I loved your point about value-based parenting versus positive parenting. So I think those things came out beautifully. And I can't wait to get into the second part of this episode, which is part 2, where we'll be talking about a lot more older kids, 11 to 18 maybe. And until then,
one quick thing. I just wanted I want to add one more C to it. And that's we have this beautiful set of...
I was going to talk about it in the second episode.
And that's another C. And you've talked about it throughout. Have that vulnerability with your children. Have conversations. Get on the dining table and say, we're all shutting our devices off. And we have actually created this product in order, much before the pandemic hit, in order to get rid of devices at the dining table, where, you pick up a card, there's 100 cards in here. You pick up a card and you decide, you answer the question. You answer the question on there, and that kind of creates those connections that
it's very funny. We keep getting people keep telling us that you guys are thinking like 50-year-olds. You should think a bit more digitally, and you should come up with plans. And I'm like, but aren't we spending enough time in front of the screens? Are we not spending enough time with our mobile phones? Should we not take a break from that and do the old-fashioned way? Sit at the table, take that conversation card that Deepa was talking about, and ask each other some questions and understand and know each other better. So I think I almost feel like it was prophetic. We thought about this a long time ago. And we are so glad that we did, because the reality is that mental health of our children is at stake now. Absolutely. We cannot ignore this at all. And we have an expert who is telling us that. So thank you so much, Parul. And we are excited to talk to you again in the second episode, in part 2 of this episode. So thanks, and stay tuned, guys. We are coming back next week for this. Thank you, Parul.
Thank you so much.